All right, folks. So, welcome back to the runningrestaurants.com podcast. We're bringing the tips, tools, and techniques you need to know to make your restaurant more profitable and successful. I'm your host, Jaime Oikle. Today, got a great episode for you. Got Matt Wilson, owner of Mise En Place here and consulting. So, we're going to go into what that looks like. So, Matt, first of all, welcome. Thanks for joining. I want to get to your backstory in just a second. But let me start with asking you this, and we'll dig into these in a second. What do you feel are some of the biggest pain points in the restaurant business right now? We'll come back to some of them. What do you think?
Labor, not just labor dollars, but the actual availability of labor, staff, human resources is a huge concern. Food costing, food and cost of food will always be there, but I do find right now just an overall labor shortage.
Yeah, that is a trend across the spectrum. All right, well, let's go now to your backstory in the restaurant business. Tell me how you started a little bit, where you've been working, and now you're doing consulting off our and I believe that's relatively recent, but give me the background.
So much like many of your listeners and viewers and subscribers, I started in restaurants very early, actually at the age of 12. I started working in
There you
restaurants,
go.
and yeah, once I got my first job, and I was chatting with somebody else a couple weeks ago, and I said I've looked the same since the age of 12. I was one of those that was shaving at the age of 12, I think.
That's funny.
But my mom had dropped me off for my interview, and everything went well. Got the job, and then for training, she dropped me off a half hour early, which meant that they accidentally put me into the banquet server training. So at the age of 12, I was a banquet server. But I I fell in love with the industry because there was a social side, there was a hospitality side, a service side, everything that gave reward, almost instant reward, right? I love tiling, as home projects because instantly I see a result, and restaurants really gave that to me. So from there, worked with a very large group in Ontario, Canada, that does very fine dining establishments as well as lots of weddings. From that point, off to school for food and beverage management, and then found myself at what is now called Recipe. It's one of Canada's largest uh, multi-unit chain restaurant groups, and opening restaurants, managing restaurants, general manager, both front, back of house. And then I moved over to the distributor side.
Mhm.
And I was with a local distributor, and then I went to a very large distributor, the global leader in food distribution, where I was there for about 17 years, and I was director of business resources. The cool thing about that job is it actually brought me right back to being in front of restaurants and restaurant owners, chefs, front of house managers, general managers, and working with them directly. When I left that company, I took some time and I said, okay, so what do I want to do? Right. And it felt like getting a job was maybe the easy way out, but did I want a job? I wanted to continue to help restaurants. Right. I wanted to basically take what I've been doing and just expand on that and just do it better. And so I opened up Mise En Place. And Mise En Place is a consultant that takes a lot of the tools that we're not going to give you the next latest and greatest piece of technology. We will help you find that piece of technology. But I am hands on with restaurateurs, chefs, general managers, uh, helping their restaurant.
Good. Good. Love it. Love it. Thanks for walking us through that. Go back to the food distribution part for a while. Working with a lot of clients across a lot of spectrums, a lot of products, a lot of resources inside of organizations like the one you were in. And so, what does that look like when you're helping folks? What were the questions they were asking a lot?
Well, you're right. I don't have the exact number of restaurants that I worked with and my teams worked with over all the years. It's in the thousands.
Hmm.
So when you try to figure out exactly what they were wanting, they would initially come to us for new new ideas, what's
Yeah.
on trend,
Mm-hmm.
and slowly, you can get your new ideas with the next chef that you hire. You can get your new ideas from, things that you see in your marketplace, and as you travel on the internet, it evolved into operational support,
Mm-hmm.
where a lot of the time customers would come in, restaurateurs would come in, and we wouldn't even be in the kitchen. We would be at a boardroom table and looking at their numbers, looking at ways to dive into those numbers. What current inventory programs are they using? Are they using any inventory programs?
Right.
What control they have in their business? And so the team that I had, we actually worked on developing a lot of different tools that we could quickly deploy professionally right across Canada. And that's where, before we started recording, we talked about one of my old colleagues, and that's where really him and I started collaborating, is using these tools right across Canada to help even more restaurants.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Were you surprised at times by the different levels of sophistications at the different operations? Some folks may be really dialed in, taking inventory, costing every penny, and some folks just winging it. Was it a big variety? What do you think?
Definitely shock and awe.
Yeah.
You see some operators, as you said, that are so dialed in, they know when that penny leaves, and it's inspiring. You actually
Mm.
have really good conversations, because I think that when you have operators like that, we can all help each other. We can learn, and we can grab best practices. All the way to the other side of the spectrum, where an operator really loved smoked meat and decided that, hey, we're going to open up a restaurant with no prior experience, knowledge, or foresight in how restaurants should be run.
Yeah.
Or no, so yeah, there's some shock and awe, because unfortunately, as you know, there's a lot of operators out there that have poured not only their life savings, but family, friends, life savings into their businesses. And sometimes it's almost at the point where it's too late.
Yeah.
They need the help, and they're like, uh-oh, what did I get myself into? What have I done? And I'm a firm believer that, it shouldn't ever be too late. We can quickly put some things in place to steer the ship the right way. But if anything, if COVID taught us anything, is that if you were struggling before COVID and you didn't
Mm.
have systems in place before COVID, there's a good possibility you didn't make it out.
Yeah.
And those that had systems and solid foundations going into the toughest time in our industry, that hopefully we never have to repeat or see ever in our lives, those that actually came out not only stronger, but more in tune with their business, where their numbers are, where the dollars and cents were. I talk to clients all day long about how during the deepest shutdowns and lockdown periods, they were the only ones in the business.
Mm.
They were prepping, cooking, packaging, running it out to the curb, you know, putting in online ordering that they never had before. They were doing it
Yeah.
all. And is that tough? It's to many uh, like climbing Mount Everest. However, now that they come out, they really have a focus on some key aspects of their business, which is great.
Yeah, so many lessons during that time, and you already hit on it. If you got through that, you got stronger. Definitely was a strong process. By the way, folks, some people will just hear it, some people watch it. I gave Matt a hard time. I said, is that virtual real? He's in a real kitchen. Look at it. It looks so pretty. I just want to
It
move in,
is.
but I love it. Um, Yes, you hit on it. It's very complicated business. Margins are tough. If you don't have the systems in place, you're really going to struggle, because there's so many details, and it's moving, and it's actually happening in real time, as opposed to some other businesses they're a little different than that. So let's talk about those systems. You go in as a consultant and you pinpoint 3 things, 5 things. What are some of those first initial consultation identification process?
So you definitely want to sit down and learn about the business, but I never take the the quick avenue of saying, okay, we got to fix this, we got to fix this, we
Mhm.
got to fix this. I'm very process oriented.
Mhm.
Actually, probably 1 or 2 years before COVID, I actually went out and I got my Lean Six Sigma black belt, and that is
Okay.
all about process management. And so at the time, I was using it for something else in the company I was with and wanted to use it for that. But now, as I start my own on the consulting side, it's helped me more than I ever imagined it would. So, first things first is you need to learn about the business. You need to understand. You need to understand that who are the key players, who's at the table, right? Once we understand who's at the table, we have some tough conversations. We ask some very, very tough questions, but then we put out a process in attacking those. There's no sense in figuring out this if all these other pieces aren't in place, right? So even when right down to the services that Mise En Place provides, it's all in order. Now, yes, you could pick one or the other. I'm not saying everybody has to do everything with us, but it's all in order for a reason, right? Yes, you could get down to the CX audits, but if your branding isn't even taken care of, and your socials aren't taken care of, and your menu isn't taken care of, and all the costing and the engineering and analysis, if that's all not done, you may have put the cart before the horse. So the best when I first sit down, it's understanding the challenges. What are you having the biggest challenges with? And listening, right? It's all about you and I talking, but a lot of the time when I'm in front of customers, it's about me just simply listening.
Yeah.
Right? Ask some key questions, and the more I listen, the more restaurateurs and chefs and GMs will open up because they realize it's a safe space. It's a very safe space. I'm only there to help. So
You talk about asking tough questions, and I guess I'm just going to extrapolate that's sitting down and asking people really about the business, like what's going on and challenging them. But what's an example of those early questions as part of the conversation?
I would say one of the most uncomfortable questions would be asking about uh, theft
Hmm.
inside the restaurant. Theft, shrink, whatever you want to call it. Uh, Asking about that is very uncomfortable because I think all of us inherently believe that people that work for us and that are in the restaurant are there to do a really good job and they're very loyal and this kind of thing. And I believe that. However, we have to ask that question. If there's nothing in place to identify that, you may have a bigger problem than you realize. And it's a tough question. It's a very tough question because
Yeah.
every owner, chef, general manager, front of house manager has a connection, an emotional connection to the staff that work with them. They never want to believe that there's ever a possibility that Samantha or Billy could ever think about, harming the business. So that's a tough one. There are financial ones that are tough as well, but I think that one really hits home.
It does, because it points the finger at, in some cases, people end up getting fired, of course, from that when we find the answers to that, and there's so many opportunities for things to go missing, small and big. My buddy Roger tells a story of, I mean, losing $40,000 to a guy who was inappropriate in the business relationship, but it can be simple as you know glassware and plates and dishes and this and that and food, and so there's so many opportunities to lose out there. That's a good one. Thank you for doing that. So
Yeah,
um I took down some notes from the site, and you talk about the menu costing engineering. So when you sit down with a restaurant, you probably pull the menu out and you go through it. Do you know your profitability on this? Do you know your profitability on that? What's your cost on this? What are some of those conversations look like?
To reference our earlier conversation about the different types of operators that we deal with, there are operators that I have as clients that know exact profitability. This one used to be a puzzler, now it's a star. Like they have everything in tune. That is not the norm, right? So the norm is, you know what? We've been meaning to do this, and the last time we actually did a full costing is, when we first opened or 2 menus ago. That's more the norm, and so, I don't ever judge. At the end of the day, I'm there for a reason. It's not to maintain status quo. It's actually to help. So it's like, okay, well, let's start there. Perfect. Let's grab what you currently have, if there's anything, or let's just start with a clean slate. Because if it is 1, 2, 3 menus old, 6 months to 2 years old, a lot of that data is useless, right? We, I'm pretty sure that Canada is not unique. We have food cost inflation. We have inflation in labor. We have inflation everywhere, right? So anything that's really dated, we might be better served to start over. I've had conversations where, as we start down the costing side, it was the first time they ever weighed cheese for the pizza.
No,
It had never been weighed, right? And it's like, okay, well, now we're going to weigh it, right? We need to know if we're making any money on this, and we just need to be honest with ourselves. And it's tough because I think that we're all very proud. We're all very proud of what we put out there in whatever space we operate on in commerce. However, sometimes we just shouldn't be that proud and just say, hey, let's just do the heavy lifting. And it's all about heavy lifting. I think if I could rename, and you and I were joking about it earlier before the recording, but if I could rename the company, it'd probably be heavy lifting. because it's easier to remember and easier to spell. But that's really it. And typically it is that heavy lifting that gets put off to the side. I don't have time because of this. I don't have time because of this. I've been meaning to get to it. You know what? We're just going to launch this menu. We're going to up everything $1. Next menu, we're going to look at it.
Yeah. Keep it simple. Sometimes, do you find that folks identify their cash cows on their menu? Like they know the ones that really hit home. Do you see that?
Not as much as I would hope for. You have larger groups that do a really good job of it. Some smaller groups that, know that this is, we make everything in-house, which isn't always necessarily cheaper, right? So, labor dollars, what goes into that? If this takes you, 5 hours to make, well, we got to work that in. But yeah, not as much as you would think. I think when we actually put it in front and you have data, it changes a lot of conversations. Oh, I thought that this one would have been better.
Yeah.
Cost wise.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess beef did go up. We heard about it, but oh geez, we got to relook at this. I'm not saying take beef off the menu, but if you're not a steakhouse, maybe don't have that ribeye or don't have that tenderloin. Maybe go into more braised products. So yeah, those are
my buddy Roger, whether you've met him yet or not, Roger Bodwin from Restaurant Rockstars is great. Check his stuff out. But he always tells the story of his famous garlic knots when he ran a restaurant. He's making pizzas anyway. Cut off the edges, take the trim, some sauce, this, that, and the other. Boom, like almost zero food costs. Put it out for $10. Cost you less than $1. Perfect. Do that all day long. Identify those that are just pure profit. And now I'm going to ask you the next question: menu design. Like, throw those garlic knots and make sure everyone's suggesting them. Make sure people are ordering them, because every time that $10 hits, you're keeping $9 of it or more. So that's an important strategy. Let's talk about it.
And you know what? We're we're now very into an era of social media, and those garlic knots should almost be every third thing that your followers see.
Yeah.
They should want those garlic knots. They should be talking on Thursday about getting those garlic knots on Friday or Sunday for the football game. Or it that is when we get into the engineering and analysis of a menu. It's key to make sure that we take those learnings and we actually put it onto the menu. However, we then take that and where else are we advertising it?
Mm-hmm.
So it's very important that internally we have spiffs running for the staff, right? Push the garlic knots, and we'll just keep on using the garlic knots as an example because it's easy. But push the garlic knots all day long. And you know what? Going into Friday, we know it's going to be a very, very busy Friday. All right, here's the spiff. First person to get to this, play the bingo game.
Yep.
And bingo is only made up of your profitable items, right? And have everybody engaged in that. So you take that. Now that was all internal. So we have the number one piece of revenue, which is our menu, right? So we've engineered and designed that properly. Then we took care of the driver to that, which is the servers. But then you bring it right into social, and you constantly do a slow drip of those garlic knots. There's a large group in Canada that they've had, I want to say it's now 10 years of coast to coast advertising on TV, all talking about one item on their menu.
Yeah.
And it's their chicken fingers. It's their chicken tenders that they do in house. They're fantastic. They do them to order, and they pride themselves on that. They take you behind the scenes. They talk about it all the time. But coast to coast, that's all they want to talk about. And it drives so much business to them. Because to be honest with you, I've had their chicken fingers many times, chicken tenders, chicken fingers. And they're not lying. They're fantastic. But they charge for it. And they come at a great food cost.
Right.
So the profitability is there. So absolutely all day long, the servers are talking about it. They have advertisements going both in traditional media and social media, and it's highlighted on their menu every possible way.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I love it.
Great snapshot of almost how to do one item perfectly.
Yeah. I want to come back to social in a second, and we'll be quick because I have a couple quick questions around that. I was just curious about it, but let's go back to labor, which we identified really early on as a pain point, and you obviously can speak to it, but you probably saw restaurants struggle and continue to struggle to find people, keep people, pay people, etc. Anything that you find is working well, retention wise or recruiting wise out there?
And it sounds very simplistic, and it sounds, in a very utopian world, this is what happens. But I would say what actually works is treat every employee as an important person, right? Don't wait until they're asking for a raise, properly compensate, look for opportunities to bonus where need be. Long gone are the days where the industry has two chefs working 60 hours. It's 120. Why not have three, have 40? Work-life balance, right? It's coming out of a COVID era. Every industry was struggling for labor. No industry more than ours. And so if we do what we've always done, we're going to get the same results.
Mm-hmm.
So treat them better, right? Make them part of the business. They came to you originally looking for a job. You offered them a job. Let's keep it there, right? And I said, and I should have caught myself, but I didn't. I said work-life balance, and it's a very corporate thing to say. If restaurants were to say we're going to focus on life-work balance, and they just changed those two words, all of a sudden the cook or the waiter or the bartender or the host or hostess, they can actually continue to play soccer on Monday nights and take care of their mental and health, mental and physical health. I think that's where we need to get to. And there's some that are already there. I was at a restaurant last week with a client, and he looked into the kitchen. Now he struggles for staffing, like many operators. He looked in the kitchen, and it was a very busy evening, but they had a brigade. There had to have been 17 cooks in there.
Hmm.
And he looked, he's like, I would die for 2% of that. I said, so what are they doing different?
Yeah.
And you know what? The restaurant group doesn't really matter, but I can tell you, I know this group and life work balance.
I like that a lot. I know you work with the folks at Seven Shifts, so I want to bring that. I'm not. I want to bring into play that we're recording this. I think what's today? The day after I released my most recent episode with Seven Shifts, Jordan Bosch, the CEO there, and we talked about a lot of the stuff you just hit on. Why folks want to work at a restaurant? What can you do to keep them there? And it's not just about pay, it's about camaraderie, it's about saying thank you, it's about culture. And the episode was a lot about those things, and that's why people want to work for you as a leader, because the days have changed, like you hinted on. So yeah, I'm sure we'll pull that out as a quote, flipping that life work balance. I like that a lot, Matt. As we
Dude,
go ahead.
all I wanted to say is not to make it a commercial for Seven Shifts. I love their product. I love what they do for restaurants, especially independents that struggle with, managing scheduling. However, the biggest thing, every client that I talk to that either are already on Seven Shifts or that I've helped onboard into Seven Shifts, they say it's the communication piece. It
Yes.
has changed everything for them. So whether you work in a large corporation or an independent, the one complaint is the same as any employee in any industry. It's communication. And Seven Shifts really helps in streamlining communication.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that. That's one of the things we did touch on. It's changed a lot how to get a hold of people and do all that stuff. So good stuff. Let's go. I do want to start to head towards wrapping up, but give me a couple quick things around social. You mentioned it. I know something that you do is called a social audit or something. What is that?
So social is one of those where many people do it incredibly well. Many people manage social very well. Their presence is out there. The one thing that as you go through my set of services and offerings, and I referenced it earlier, where everything is
Mhm.
in order and there's a process. The thing that comes before social is establishing your brand standards.
Mhm.
So one thing I will say about social is it's great. However, it can also be a detriment if it's not managed properly. My personal social, only because my OCD is constantly getting worse. But my personal social, I will take 5 photos before I put that one out there,
Ah,
and then I'll delete photos, and then I adjust photos, and it's just, and I'm like, what does my mom care, right? But it's all about that personal brand. So when we go into the realm of business, specifically restaurants, what is your brand? And I think it wasn't Gary Vee, it was somebody else I saw, and they were talking about socials, and they put it very uh, clearly. People don't wake up, get on their social, and wonder what Matt's Bar and Grill, uh, what they're cooking tonight. They're not wondering what dish is being taken a picture of, today. They want to interact with your brand. So first, we need to establish our brand, and then what is that brand? What is the feeling? If your restaurant, if your venue does live entertainment, let's just say open mic night or concerts or something like that, that might be what you want out there. Showing another picture of a burger probably isn't going to drive people in as much as understanding your brand and understanding the fun, the atmosphere, or the elegance. We can talk about the fun and the atmosphere and the party, but there's some people that just want to make sure that when they go out for that anniversary or that celebration,
Yep.
the elegance is there,
Yep.
right? And you can easily get that through on social by establishing your brand first and being honest with everybody at the table.
Yeah, good tips. Appreciate that. And you're right. Some folks just have a knack for doing social, and other folks
Oh,
kind of fiddle around.
yeah, and I was talking with with this one client, and we actually took over their socials. They said, "Well, you know what? We have an Instagram account. I don't know if we can actually access it. We haven't used it forever." And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Then let's figure out that, because if you have an account that has old information on it and old posts on it, and you're not doing anything, it's worse than not having an account at all."
Yeah. Yeah.
Because again, if I'm looking up Matt's Bar and Grill and I see posts from 2018, and
No trust.
I
Yeah.
see that,
No trust.
well, there's no trust, and you posted a picture of the menu, and I see that a kid's burger's $5 and now it's $9, and like it's just let's get control.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So last words of wisdom, send them to the website, social, anything else you want to point them towards, parting thoughts. What do you got?
You know what? Misenplace.ca. There's an easy booking tool. It always starts with a conversation, right? So just go into bookings, find time that works for you. 20, 30-minute conversation about your business, and let's get to know each other first. If it's going to be a fit, then we move from there. But lots of experience over 30, I guess 36 years of being in the industry, and giving away my age quickly. And I'm so happy that I decided consciously to continue helping restaurants.
Excellent. Good stuff today. We'll have to revisit in the future because there's plenty of topics we didn't hit on, but we'll kind of sign off for now. Matt Wilson of Mise En Place. You can find on the web, misenplace.ca, for those that are on the listening side. For more great restaurant marketing, service people, and tech tips, stay tuned to us here at runningrestaurants.com. In the meantime, wherever you're listening or watching, please do us a favor, hit a like button, a subscribe, give us a review, a rating. All that stuff is very, very helpful, and we appreciate it. We'll see you next time. Thanks so much, Matt.
Thank you.